Welcome back to our coverage of the Netrunner Worlds match. This is the second game played between Jeremy and Ben. Jeremy on the left and Ben on the right. We're going to be giving some commentary throughout this game to hopefully keep you guys up to speed. My name's Steven.
My name's Robert.
And we're going to be doing the best that we can to make this an enjoyable and lovely experience for everyone involved. Now on the left, like I said, we have Jeremy who, if you watch the first match, has just lost as the runner and is now switching and playing the Corporation, having hit that nasty June bug.
That nasty June bug behind 5 pieces of ice.
Yeah.
That'll learn you.
It was good. It was a good
beautiful
play. It was kind of one of those situations in Netrunner where, the runner can't really not take the risk at that point if there's imminent scoring going on. Of course, that could be argued a million times over, but what happened, and so now we have the second game. Jeremy and Ben are going to face off here. We see Gabriel once again at the final table. So, obviously a popular runner here for the Criminals, and then we have the Weyland Corporation played by Jeremy. So, number one concern, I think, when you see Weyland is Archer and Scorched Earth, at least at this point in the game.
Yes.
Both will start at 5 credits, and they'll shuffle up and go. So, what do you expect? How do you expect this matchup to kind of flow through? We have Gabriel, who wants to hit HQ early to get those credits. We have Weyland, who can pretty easily have archers going on. We'll see if there's probably some tagging. If there is, Scorched Earth is always a possibility. So, as the runner, I think what's the primary, concern at this point?
I would say getting up and running ASAP. I know that's something that the Criminals can do pretty well. But those pieces of ice that Weyland can res can be very devastating and expensive, more importantly. So the early game is going to be critical before the Corporation has time to really get up multiple tiers of ice. Again, specifically Archer. Archer can't be understated in how devastating it can be because it's cheap to res. You have to sack an agenda, but Weyland is poised to sack just the right kind of agendas, that is ones with only 1 point, so you aren't really sacrificing a lot.
For sure, and I think that the tail of this game is going to revolve a lot around whether or not the runner sees forged activation orders at the right time. On a Hadrian's Wall that was just installed, on an Archer before it can legally be resed. All those kinds of things are definitely something you want to look for.
Yes, that's for sure. But
so
what's going on here?
Well, Weyland, first action, we have playing 2 pieces of ice and then gaining a credit, so he goes up to 6. Whereas on the right here, we have Ben playing Armitage Code Busting, and then also dropping a decoy. And there we go, forge activation orders right off the bat. And Enigma is rezzed. Could have been a bit of a waste of forge. I think Ben wants to see what this ice is, knows whether or not he can make the run. If he had just run there, he would have found out the same information. Questionable, but every runner's different. You got to follow your instincts sometimes.
That's right.
But now with 1 forge activation down, Jeremy has a lot more freedom to kind of install and do what he wishes with his ice. He can play a little bit more gambity with that. He can install ice that he can't res right off the bat to surprise later on. And that's hopefully will be an effective tactic throughout this game. We have going just 3 credits.
Getting some monies.
And so we'll come back over, and it looks like we're going to do the same thing on Ben's side.
Just printing some money. Everybody wants it. That's why we're here. So, Corp drawing their card. They have to. Now, drawing a card every turn, let's not forget how awesome of a game mechanic that is, because it always keeps R&D as fresh as can be for your running purposes.
R&D is fresh, that's right. And, I mean, who could be a corporation without constantly getting updates from R&D?
That's right.
Just be irresponsible.
All right, new tier of ice, paying 1 to do that. That's his first action. And then, 2 clicks
Second
for
and
2
third,
credits?
You get 2 more credits,
Yeah.
That's right. And you're seeing already this Weyland identity is not quite as strong as some others. Infiltration, all right. So Ben is a man of knowledge. Wall of Static shows up. So he's seen basically every card he wants to see without having to risk himself with a run. And that is a lot of times how the Criminals like to play. Some of them like to be a little more reckless, but some of them are very, very calm. They just want to see what's going on, make sure there's nothing too bad.
More Armitage Code Busting to follow.
I've gained some more credits.
And then let's see what the Corp has ready for us.
That's right. So at this point, Jeremy's kind of looking around. HQ's pretty well protected. Got an early game barrier. Got an early game code gate. So aside from maybe like an inside job or some where he can't res the ice, something, it's going to keep Ben pretty well out of HQ at this point. He's got to be looking at his hand, maybe thinking I could get an icebreaker and get through there with some kind of speed or efficiency. But at the same time, he could also be looking for Sneak Door Beta here so that he could actually start hitting HQ, get a full turn of good HQ runs.
That's right. So Jeremy put down a second piece of ice over R&D and then gained 2 credits. Meantime, the Gordian Blade comes out.
That's exactly what we needed.
Yay! One of the best icebreakers in the game.
Just going to roll right through Enigma, and there's the inside job.
Boom.
So he's going to bypass that Enigma unless Jeremy decides to res that unres piece of ice, and that's going to cause that Gordian Blade to at least spend a couple of credits. Does he want to make him do it? Yes, he does.
Also, inside job, creepy art.
Creepy art. Great card.
It's a great card.
So he's going to go to Enigma. Passing right through that wall of static because it is an inside job. He's going to pay 1 to boost it, and imagine pay 2 to break.
And then
or
the
didn't
cards.
Even have to boost it, just pay 1 to break. That's right.
Oh,
and he gets an agenda.
A priority
wow,
right
run.
off the bat. Woo! That is really depressing as a Corp.
As a Corp, yeah. Especially, you got to think, well, maybe that was his only agenda in hand, and there it goes. It seems like the odds are always with pulling the agenda out of the hand. I don't know. It seems to happen way more often than it should.
I don't know. I've played the runner any number of times and have drawn the same card, that same piece of ice out of HQ probably 4 or 5 times in a row, and it's always really frustrating. It's just like, can I see something else, please? I don't even care if it's not an agenda at this point.
So Ben plays a sure gamble. He draws a card. And over on Jeremy's side, his Corp turn, he just gained credits again. Jeremy's very fond of doing that. He likes to reach a certain critical mass of credits. We saw him do this in the runner, and looks like he's doing it as the Corp as well.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way.
Ben gains some more credits there.
I like having a nice little nest egg, as it were, especially as the Corp. Not as critically as the runner, at least pertaining to the situation. If there's a lot of ice out on the board that I need to break through, and of course spend that money on.
It's certainly important to be able to res your ice. One cannot downplay that.
That's right. So
what
would you do
Jeremy,
here?
He's thinking about some things. Well,
is it time to start developing a remote? Because I would imagine
HQ's pretty safe, and that's the thing is like it's not going to get easier.
Right.
For Weyland at this point. You have a very solid code gate breaker out. You have Gabriel. We haven't seen Sneak Door Beta yet. We've seen 1 inside job, 1 forged activation. It's going to be a long game, and Ben is in the money right now, so he's really capable of setting up whatever he wants. It's going to have to happen maybe a little bit faster for Jeremy here. He maybe needs to get some things rolling, or he's just going to be susceptible to these early game probes into his central servers.
That's right. Wow, 3rd piece of ice.
You can't overstate how much you need to protect HQ. So he installs, pays 2, but then gains 2 with his last 2 actions.
Awesome.
So first action, Ben draws a card. And then he spins 2 for, none other than Desperado. Spins 3 for it. It's the runner console, excellent criminal piece. Gain a credit whenever you make a successful run, and 1 MU. He's going to use his 3rd to take all those credits off of Armitage, gain 2 more, and he's going to play another Armitage. So Ben is in the money doing some real work for the Armitage Corporation. And it's obviously paying off. It allowed him to install Desperado, no problem.
That's right. And he has a slight edge over the Corp in money now, 9-8. But let's see how long that lasts, because Weyland, as we all know, can be quite the money bags. Absolutely. When it wants to be.
And that's what I was getting at earlier. This identity is a little bit behind the curve right now. When you look at something like HB, where you get a credit every time you install a card, which is pretty much every turn if you want it to be. That's a lot more useful and a lot stronger than Weyland just gaining 1 whenever you play a transaction, because you might do that 2, 3, 4 times during the game with hedge fund and beanstalk royalties at this point. But as we see more transactions and as maybe they have a bigger impact on the game, this agenda or this identity might become more sufficient. All right, so we have an install and then gain some credits.
The first remote is up. Well, sort of. At least the ice for it is.
It's starting to be up.
That's right.
And Weyland, you play Weyland for the cards within Weyland, not necessarily for the identity that they have.
Right.
Although gaining 5 of a hedge fund, it's fun.
It is fun. It is fun. And 4 off of Beanstalk?
And Ben's going to install none other than the Lemuria Code Cracker. This is a
nice.
card that you don't see a lot. You make a successful run on HQ, and then you can spin a click and pay something to expose 1 card. So HQ becomes even more important at this point. You've got to keep Ben out of HQ.
Thank goodness for all that ice there.
And where is Sneak Door Beta right now? I'm
right.
just waiting for it to light up. So Beanstalk Royalty is going to gain 4 because of the Weyland identity. It's almost like it was meant to be.
It's almost like it's a hedge fund. Or
Yeah,
something.
exactly, right?
It becomes the new hedge fund.
New hedge fund.
And the hedge fund becomes the new something else that's awesome.
An even better hedge fund.
Man.
And it's nice to see the Beanstalk up there, top left, in the console.
That's true.
Look at that thing spinning around. Gives you a real sense of, what Jeremy truly has on his mind.
That's right.
So he's going to protect archives. He sees it in Ben's eyes that Sneak Door Beta may well be close. Diesel to draw 3.
Great card. Love it.
And out comes the Corroder, a splash from the Anarchs, going to break through barriers with no trouble at all. So now HQ is well within reach, depending, of course, on that first piece of ice protecting the server, or the last, depending on how you look at it. First piece for Ben. And he's going to toss away some more creds there. And he's going to play the old Forged Activation Orders. Again, this card has already had an impact. And it's one of the criminal specials. And it looks like that's just a shadow. Hey, no worries, man. Just a shadow. It's a sentry, though. We have now 3 types of ice protecting this thing. And it's not an in-the-run piece of ice, so we can still get through, but the Corp's going to gain 2, and it's going to be a trace with a tag. And I don't think Ben necessarily wants that, but then again, running HQ right now is a huge, huge boon to him.
Now, that said, what do you think Ben was potentially anticipating in terms of that piece of ice? Was he maybe thinking that, oh man, there's going to be an archer there?
When you're playing Weyland and they haven't scored any agendas, you're pretty safe. I mean, the worst that can happen is like a big Hadrian's Wall, which is going to end the run for you.
Right.
He may have been worried that it was an Enigma, but he could break through that. Maybe a splash of like an Ichi or something can really get nasty. That would have been probably his worst, the worst possible thing for him. Destroy both those programs.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much it. Maybe a roto turret. There's any number of little trashy program ice that can get in the way for the runner, and you just don't want to fall into that when you don't have your sentry breaker out.
That's true.
Although I definitely would have. I would have run there all day.
Yeah, so how do you assess risk in a situation like this? I mean, is there, in your mind, acceptable risk and unacceptable risk? Or
there is acceptable and unacceptable, but it very much revolves around feeling as opposed to logic. Now, of course, every player is different. Easy mark over here from Gabriel, gaining some easy bits. Every runner is different and would disagree with that, of course. There are cursory, you go through, well, could that be and how bad would it be if it was that thing?
Right.
So, in Ben's case, the worst it could possibly be is Ichi. Is he splashing Ichi? Probably not. And so, I don't know. Just run.
It's weird. Just run. I
Anytime
have to know.
Anytime you think you shouldn't run, just run. And then you'll be okay.
Well,
you won't be.
Are there some like corps that you're less inclined to run against in the blind?
Yeah. I'll tell you, HB you run against blind all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Right off the bat, you don't install anything, you just run it and see, because pretty much all of their bad ice just trashes programs. If you don't have programs, you just run right through it and nobody cares.
Right.
So we have a special order coming over here from Ben after another turn of installing an iceberg on that remote from Jeremy. And then he gained some more credits, of course, played a hedge fund. And now we are back at Ben, who's doing a nice special order for the Ninja Sentry Breaker. Only problem with it is that out of criminals, at least, it cannot break Archer unless it pumps twice, because Archer is 6 strength. So it's going to cost 6 just to get up to strength, 7, 8, 9 at least if he wants to do a typical Archer break, 10 if he wants the full shebang.
Where's that ice carver?
Where is that ice car? It's heavy influence, that's where it is. In Anarchs, where it belongs.
Yeah. It's a great card, though. Woo.
And keep in mind the decoy play here. This is ultimately seen as a bit of a weak card, but in the meta that is Worlds, the first official Worlds tournament, tag and bag is the name of the game, especially when you see Weyland coming up against you. So this is a meta choice by Ben, and I think it's probably a good one.
So let's see what we're doing here. Getting some more money off of Armitage. I'm assuming it's French. It sounds French.
Amatoire. I don't know about that.
You don't know? Well, I know. So Corp, drawing the card as is usual.
And look, already, see, it's been a slow crawl, but Jeremy has gotten to 20 credits.
Yeah, that is a fortune.
And so now there he is. And, he basically had to lose a card. He had to lose an agenda early to kind of pace out to get this game where he wanted it, but it's probably worth it.
This is true. But let's think about this Weyland identity in terms of, with the kind of the general impression that it's not terribly up to snuff compared to some of the other identities. But you look at it, and then, oh man, there's, I think, maybe 2 or 3 total different transactions that you can run now. There might be others that I'm forgetting. But anywho, does it excuse you from running other cards that some people kind of think are a toss-up, like Archive Memories coming into play, but like some people don't really care for Pad Campaign,
right?
But
look, Archive Memories into a hedge fund.
That's right. So let's say you don't run Pad Campaign because you're getting an extra credit off of all your transactions, and if you're reusing them, well then that's like a turn right there of a Pad Campaign. I mean, how many turns in slots in your deck do you assess to a card like that that's giving you a trickle when you have the trickle built into your transaction?
It's not. I mean, Weyland the strength seems to be in the burstiness of their ability to gain money. There's another decoy from
nice.
Ben. It's very good. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the difference is. I don't think they run Pad Campaign particularly well. Ooh, Yogg.
Discarding
nice splash.
Yogg. Nice.
Discards the Yogg, man. That's nuts. I guess you're splashing Gordian and Yogg. That's kind of an interesting choice. Interesting. Well, I don't know. Like I said, Weyland's, it's kind of bursty. There's only 6 transactions possible to play during the game: Hedge Fund and Beanstalk. So it's really just not great.
Yeah.
But every time you use it, you're like, hey, this is nice. When you step back and look at it, it's like, I'm really only getting 1 credit every couple turns.
That's right. So it's weird to assess that, but who knows? Who knows?
At least the Archive Memories to do it again. So
That's
there's
true.
another 3 more instances potentially of transactions.
Is Archive Memory a transaction?
It is not.
Damn, it should be.
Don't you wish? Don't you wish?
All right, so more ice going down on that remote, but still no asset of any kind. No agenda.
It's
no
got to be
asset.
safe where he lays it down.
That's right. Because his hand's pretty safe. We know that.
Pretty safe.
Pretty.
Not safe enough. At this point, how much would it cost? It would cost, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inside job. It doesn't matter.
See a shadow.
We're going to bypass. It's interesting to what I feel like is kind of waste an inside job here.
Yeah, because, I mean, you at least know what that is. You have the breakers for everything.
There's a 3-run remote server coming your way.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I would have saved that for a more critical run there.
But maybe he felt like his hand was just loaded. I mean, and that's another.
Have to think that.
That's another thing. I mean, the feeling that you get about what is being held in a player's hand or what's on the top of their deck and all this kind of stuff. These kind of intuition-based judgment calls that you have to make in this game can be everything at certain times.
And it is the game. And there's a lot of agendas. They could be in the deck, they could be in the hand. You just don't really know. And every time that they could be in the deck, that next turn they could then be in the hand. We discarded an account 7 here on Ben's side of the board, so he's definitely not utilizing that card this game. I think I've seen 2 of them hit the trash pile so far.
That's right. Now, in terms of that, like we were just talking about a moment ago, being able to appreciate what the game state might be in terms of what's in their hand, what's on the top of their deck. How critical is training that ability within yourself to being successful in Netrunner?
I mean, I don't know that you can really train it. Every different opponent has a different way of looking whenever they have agendas in their hand, or not looking whenever they have agendas. But there are some things. If there's a long period of no agendas being seen, you've run HQ a few times, there's nothing on remotes, it's probably time to start hitting the deck. Because as much as you want to believe that you can fully and awesomely randomize your cards every time, for some reason agendas do get clumped. They just do, and this happens even if you're talking about like tournament play. You know, after a game, players will take all the scored agendas and just kind of push them in the same spot in the deck. Then they shuffle a few times, but a lot of times they just don't get them terribly randomized. So if you haven't seen agendas in a while, go to R&D. There's probably something there for you.
Just take a look at R&D.
But it's really, I mean, the odds of an agenda being in hand versus on the top of the deck is such a weird thing to try to work out.
Holy smokes.
There's another piece of ice.
Gee-bus. That is a well-protected remote. I'm just dying to see something go down on it.
And now it's a matter of credits.
It is. It's entirely a matter of credits.
Ben goes for Sneak Door, which is exactly what he wanted to do right now. Definitely needed this. So here's a big moment. He's going to hit the archives. We're going to see what that piece of ice is. I assume. Wouldn't you like to see just a nasty one right here? Just a Hadrian.
Yeah.
Just got plopped there early game.
Hey, guys.
Oh, no, just an ice wall.
Break.
So 1 to break. And that's successful run. So he's going to gain 2 for his identity and then 1 for Desperado.
Nothing.
Nothing? Well, wouldn't you like to know what that card was?
Exactly.
He'll Sneak Door again. Spend 1, gain 1. So it's a free run for him right now. Every time until there's more ice over there.
Nothing.
Nothing on HQ 2 times now.
So that's one of those things, though. It's like, you as the runner, how do you weigh that into your consideration, especially if you drew 2 different cards? You know, it's like, oh, I've seen half his hand.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think at this point you can start heading towards R&D. You really, if you can put the pressure on all 3 servers, as Noise has proven, you know, you can hit archives, and now they have to start scrambling to protect archives. But when they're scrambling to protect archives, you start hitting R&D, and HQ is still open, so you still have an HQ run every turn if you want it, even just down the normal server route. That's just less ice and less time that they have to get their stuff together and sort it on those remote servers over there. So it could very well be a good time to really spread the love here on the Centrals.
But man, I'm just on pins and needles waiting for this first asset to go down on that remote server, because mainly I want to see the Corp develop something, but I also want to see what those pieces of ice are.
All right, she's going to put ice down and gain 2 credits. It's a classic turn for Jeremy, really. He loves doing that. And that remote server, the thing about it is, Ben's going to access it if he has enough money. He has all the icebergers. There's Hadrian's.
Whoa, Hadrian's.
Well, you know it's not over somewhere else.
Well, it could still be, maybe.
Strength 7. Strength 7 within the run. Now, Hadrian's is a good piece of ice, but as the runner, you're not terribly concerned whenever it pops up. Your run just ends and you move on.
That's right.
I would say, Ben, do not pay the credits here to get through that. It's not worth it, my friend. I think you can get through it less on the actual Central server there, just by breaking all that early game ice than by going through the Sneak Door.
I would agree. But, you know, it's tempting, because you have to also weigh, you know, I've already invested this click. You know, I don't think the click is so critical as the credits right now.
Right.
But nonetheless, it's like, oh man, how far do I dig this hole?
Okay, he let it in. That's good. The only way you can not get down that remote server is by not having enough credits.
Right.
And you have to get ready. You have to get that HQ run ready, because I think Lemuria is going to potentially play a role here. You can see whether it's an agenda or a trap. Not make the same mistake that Jeremy made last game. See that it's a trap and not run it, or see that it's an agenda, have the credits ready, and just go. So at this point, I mean, just gaining as much money as you can as the runner, I think, is a critical thing to be doing.
That's right.
Although Ben seems like the type of guy that wants to preempt this agenda and just try to get it out of his hand.
That's right.
He does. So he's going to make looks like an R&D run from the looks of it. And we see another Shadow. Sentry. 2 Sabretines. Let's see if Gabriel wants to break it. I think he is. So 3 to pump strength, 1 to break, and 1 to break. All right, that's draining credits, though. Man.
Yeah, it's expensive.
Big credit drain for R&D.
Thinking about it. Is he resident? He is. Wall of static.
Wall of static. 1 and 1. So it's going to cost him 2 to get through there, which he gladly pays. And we'll look, and it looks like a beanstalk royalty is on the top there. Last thing you want to see.
Especially after you just paid so much.
Yeah, and this is kind of where that Weyland identity is good, because you're going to be able to explode up to 13, 12 credits, and potentially even install an agenda over here and know that you have a turn where he doesn't have enough credits to break through.
That's right.
And then you can actually score it next turn. So we'll see if that's what Jeremy wants to do.
All right, so there it is, as predicted.
All right, goes up to 13.
So he could still install and click.
He could install and click, maybe a private security force. Or he could, no, I don't know. 13 is not probably terribly much for Resin Ice. And Jeremy's the type of player that doesn't like, he likes to have a lot of money before he really does go for the gold.
That is definitely true.
And we'll see, he's definitely playing with that second action. This is a critical moment, deciding whether to go for the agenda and score, potentially, or if he has enough to res that ice is really the question he's got to ask himself. The ice that matters.
So
he's just going to gain 2. And, you know, when a player does that, it makes me feel like he does have an agenda in his hand he's kind of waiting on. We'll see if Ben goes for the bait here.
Especially with the careful deliberation. I mean, that was a well-thought-out decision there.
Bank job, all right.
Great call here. So it's like, yeah, he probably does have an agenda in his hand. So at that point, do you quickly and thoroughly try to consolidate any and everything you have in order to make that run down his hand, or what?
All right, there you go. So he bank jobs, and then he runs the remote server.
Whoa. A Data Raven.
Data Raven, take a tagger in the run. First choice you got to make. And he might just end the run here. I think that's an acceptable thing to do.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, he just ends the run. He wanted to see it. Interesting choice to run the remote server before you really have to.
Yeah.
But I kind of like that. I like the idea of no secrets on that server anymore.
It was a poor man's infiltration.
A poor man's infiltration. That's right. Not a bad deal at all.
And he is kind of a poor man, though. He's down to 6 credits. I think this is some of the lowest we've seen him money-wise throughout this game, especially being so nicely into the middle, if not late part of the game.
And once you shut down that HQ siphon from the criminals, it really makes a big difference. So archived memories into hedge fund. So we see that this is a pretty common occurrence, and that's going to gain him 5 again. So basically you're spending 2 clicks to gain 5 credits.
It's reasonable.
Not bad.
Yeah.
But it is still the average that a normal hedge fund user is going to spend. But you have access to the hedge fund 6 times rather than 3, so again, the explosive potential is pretty nice.
That is nice.
And archive memories can always be good for any number of things. Ice that gets trashed with activation orders, etc., etc.
It is true. So, what is going on? A draw. Is it what he needs? So, I'm not terribly versed with criminals. Is there a piece to the criminal machine that we're still waiting to see that's classic or typical?
I would say no. In fact...
Because I'm curious. He's drawn a lot of cards here. He just drew another one.
Sneak door beta, he trashes there. The fact that this criminal rig is so set up actually is kind of surprising. Criminals often will just run essentially by the seat of their pants for a long time before playing out any icebreakers. I actually had, I think it was Matt Garrett at our store here in Tulsa, said that his criminal deck runs best if he never installs icebreakers.
Oh, wow.
That's the goal. There we go.
What just happened? It went down.
So we install what might be an agenda and
it's a trap.
Gain 2 credits. So 16. We got a data raven up front. What untold horrors coming behind? 8 credits.
Oh goodness, he wants to know.
We're gonna infiltrate to find out it is a posted bounty. Now, in that case, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, it's not a lot of points. So, in fact, it's not even any points. It's a point.
Only problem being so it costs 3 to develop, so he doesn't have to worry about it yet. But if Jeremy gets to a point where he can drop that and reveal it and then immediately Scorched Earth for the win, he's got to be aware now that that could happen. So Femme Fatale comes out, and it looks like Ben forgot that he actually had too much MU with that Femme Fatale. So he's pulling something, and he's going to get rid of the Sneak Door, which probably isn't going to use anyway, because Hadrian's just kind of shut that down.
That's right.
Femme Fatale, weirdly enough, kind of belongs on the Shadow right here. Or the Data. Funny. I mean, the Data Raven could be a good choice as well. I think that's probably what he'll end up doing.
That's right.
He's got no credits, you'll notice. 9 for Femme Fatale.
It's an expensive piece. Do you think it's worth it?
Oh, yeah, as the game moves forward, I think it will be less and less useful.
Mm-hmm.
The state of the game at Worlds here, I think, is a very strong piece of ice-breaking technology. You can get through a lot of ice that sucks, like sentries, archers, toll booths, Data Ravens, and he does go for the Shadow there. And so then we go and gain a credit. So we get through Shadow, and at this point I think Jeremy's pretty safe to just kind of install over it, and no harm, no foul.
Right.
Data Raven may have been a better choice here. I don't know.
It's weird. So, what is the Corp going to do? Are they going to quickly score that agenda or not?
I think he might want to wait and threaten the tags.
Yeah.
He's going to spin 3? No, he's just going to take it.
Yoink.
And this probably signals to me that there is an archer somewhere on the board right now.
Right.
He wanted an agenda. It's the same thing you see an NBN player with, just developing breaking news.
That's right.
Probably because they have the archer out.
Or they don't have the closed accounts in that case.
Right.
Because let me tell you, I fear that breaking news just because of closed accounts. Aside from that, I don't care. It is so scary. You could lose all your money in an instant.
We always got to be ready for the Scorched Earth here, too, especially now that we've seen Data Raven. This is definitely where the deck's going. So Ben needs to be careful. He needs to take his time and just play a smart game here.
That's right.
Have plenty of cards. And we've already seen Archive Memories. Weird thing is that Jeremy's used it twice. There is kind of the classic Scorched Earth, Archive Memories, Scorched Earth. But with 2 Archive Memories gone now, I don't see that as being a terribly necessary thing.
Yep.
So we're going to run HQ, spend 1, 2 to bypass the Shadow, and then bump Corroder and break the Wall of Static, and then break Enigma. And so, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then he's going to gain 2. And then gain 1 for Desperado. And boom, it's a snare.
Owie, owie, ouch. That's not what you want to see. There's a lot of splashing going on in this Weyland deck.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of eclectic splashing, but good. Good eclectic splashing. So, how many cards is he down to? Is that his entire hand?
That looks like that is his entire hand, yeah.
Close call.
And he is going to decoy it to avoid that tag, because that would have been the Scorched Earth win right there if he had not had that decoy.
It's true. So, what does the Corp do? You gotta imagine, though, they're waiting for something. What are they waiting for?
They're waiting for maybe drawing into agendas.
It's true. Mm-hmm. You just never quite know.
As often, that really is the thing that slows it down a lot.
We're on pins and needles. So if there were to be that archer that you suspected might be on the board right now, where would it be?
Oh, I would say it'd be like the second or third rung of ice right behind that Data Raven. On
that remote, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That would be interesting. I would probably suspect as much, but I wouldn't terribly be surprised if it's that third piece above R&D either.
So we have an agenda. I'm sorry, yeah. Well, maybe an agenda.
Something.
I'm assuming.
There's a program. There's something. Something was installed.
There's some kind of asset, upgrade.
Or agenda.
And then he's spending 1 and 2, which I can only imagine for Jeremy usually means gaining 2. Oh, no, just immediately develop. Hostile takeover.
Interesting.
Gains 7 and takes a bad publicity. This is an excellent agenda.
It is. It is so good.
Giving criminals bad publicity is
not wise.
Not often what you want to do.
Because they will make really good use of it. So, a sure gamble.
Sure gamble.
And then,
Back to the Corp.
what will we see? Hopefully some action.
What kind of advertising do you imagine Weyland engaging in?
I don't know. Probably like check out our new bath salts.
Really?
No, I'm just kidding.
You seem a little classier than that.
I don't know. I would imagine that they would just be all into the high-end stuff that
Building a better world.
Yeah, that you're looking for. I think they're catering maybe not necessarily to the 1%, but maybe like to the 5% or 10%.
They kind of strike me as like, you know how you see those commercials from the oil companies that are like, we're working together to create a future that's awesome.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
When we're not, having accidental massive oil spills, we're doing the best we can to just make things awesome.
Really inspirational shots of space and
nature
ships and kids.
Yeah, we're having a great time with Weyland Corp.
Yeah. And you have like most people are like, yeah, it's Weyland, they seem pretty okay. But then there's like the people in the know and they're like, these guys are crazy. They're so corrupt. I don't know if they are or not.
I don't know. That W is just so like harsh and angular. I don't know if I could ever really trust them just on account of that. It's not a very like soft and welcoming font.
No, it's not soft. It describes how the corporation might operate.
It's a strong W. I mean, they're going to either invite you to buy their goods and services or crush you utterly. There'll be nothing left of you.
Maybe both.
Or both, yeah.
So maybe one day we'll see a corporation v. corporation version of Netrunner.
Oh man.
We'll call it capitalism.
What?
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Who can there's no runner who can score agendas the fastest.
Haha, it's me.
Alright, so we install an agenda and gain 2 credits. Look like gain 2 credits, at least to me.
Yes. Oh, development. Diesel. It's the card you always want. Especially when there's potential scorched earths waiting in the wings.
Yes, absolutely.
What is that?
Infiltrate. What is it? He says, are you sure you want to see?
I'm thinking about showing you.
Oh,
it's priority. Oh, man. So there's got to be like a Hadrian's Wall somewhere.
Hadrian's. There's got to be an archer.
Or an archer. Yeah, an archer would be good just to not sack
We need an easy mark right here from Ben. This is the time. This is your chance. He's just going to gain.
See, now you have 2 turns to execute this because it takes 5 to develop that in full. He's got 1 on that, so 3 next turn, 1 the next at the worst. So you have to say, okay, can I do it right now with these risks, assuming that there's an archer somewhere down the line because he has the agendas to successfully res it, all these kinds of things. You have to start like running the numbers through your head.
And he could be running biotic labor.
It's true, man, because he has been splashing some crazy stuff.
Splashes. Now's the chance where you start to count up all the influence in the trash pile and on the board and say, okay, if he runs a couple of copies of each of these, does he have the influence left to run anything that I'm not expecting? And I would say probably not at this point. He's running a lot of strong splashes.
Yeah, or he could just be running a binder.
Yeah, who knows? one of every splash.
There's 1 snare, there's 1 biotic labor. There's all these things, but 1 copy of. But were it me, because I'm very cautious, and that's probably too much information for those listening who might ever play me, but I would probably wait and rack up some credits and make a run at this a turn from now.
That's what I'd be inclined to do.
Especially, but that's also because I'm usually playing Shaper, if not always, and I usually have Magnum Opus out, and so taking those clicks to gain 2 credits each is a pretty good idea. It always feels safe. I'll say that.
This is where the inside jobs become absolutely critical to the late game criminal. Just even bypassing that data raven would be a huge thing.
But even let's ask this question. He used the infiltration to see what was installed at the root of the server agenda, as we now know. But was that the smart move? Were you suspecting a trap? I mean, should you look at the ice first or what?
And he goes into diesel there. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I think he's not making the best use of his code cracker right now either, necessarily. There's a lot of time and money invested into doing that, but it's a renewable kind of resource. So we're going to see full development on that. What happened?
But how did that happen?
How is it only...
How he had 1 on that and then somehow put 3 to equivalency of 5. What? Did I miss something?
I think so.
Was there a trick of light?
Oh, wait a minute. There was 2 agenda counters on
Were
that.
there? Okay.
Yeah. They were just stacked perfectly.
That was the mistake then. Okay.
So crash space comes down.
So everything we were speculating at was moot.
Everything. It was basically Ben had to make the run then, or
lose
it, and he chose not to make the run and give him that agenda.
Okay, but that said, we at least were correct that there was a Hadrian's Wall or Archer somewhere, and it was the wall.
Yep. So the wall comes up for free with Priority Rag. That's a big deal. He just saved 10 credits.
I know. The economy of that agenda sometimes is crazy, absolutely crazy. So now, what do you do?
Well, HQ is still wide open. You just saw an agenda, so there might not be one there, but you get so many benefits from it anyway. There's a bank job on the table, so that's always an option, but with Hadrian's now, he's going to need to wait for another remote server.
But even at this point, you have to just consider the fact that he has 5 agenda points now. He could play it safe and just go for his little weenie agendas, develop them quickly, 1 each, and get up to 7. No problem.
All right, so he runs R&D.
Oh, man, there's another Hadrian. So all of them are out. That's got to be frustrating.
Funny that all of them are on everything except for HQ.
That's
which
right.
is actually the criminal, want-to-go spot.
Yep. But now you have to just kind of say, well, what do I do? Because these aren't necessarily powerful pieces of ice, except for the fact that they do end the run, which is always what you want. But they're going to be expensive if you ever want to break through it, because they're at a lot of strength.
Now is when you want your forge activation orders, because I think that third piece of ice over here on the remote server is an archer.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So if you have forge activation right now, it's money to use. I think there's only 1 left in the deck.
Okay, so
he's running HQ.
Breaking stuff.
He's going to break on that piece of ice. He's going to boost Corroder and break the wall of static. And then with the Gordian Blade, he's going to what appears to be pay 2.
And he's through.
And he's going to access, so he's going to get 3 back because of Desperado and the criminal identity.
Shuffle them cards. What is it?
It's an agenda.
Woo! It's a hostile takeover.
All right, so only 1 point, but we're at 5 and 4.
That's right. But, I mean, that could have been a quick, easy score for the Corp that next turn.
And another Armitage code busting. All right. HQ is ripe for the picking here. We'll see if Jeremy actually takes some steps to secure that server, or if he's just going to kind of let HQ be what it is.
That's right. But this is a pretty close game now.
And Ben's really, I got to think that, there we go, just gain 3, standard. I've got to think that he's just going to try to get a ton of money in preparation for that remote server.
Yeah. Because what else can you do right now? Not terribly much.
Not terribly much.
You have to wait and see. But if he gets another one of those hostile takeovers, that'll be an easy point over 1 turn. Putting him at 6, which would be pretty awesome. And that's one of those things that drives me nuts, particularly about Weyland and NBN, is that they have these weenie agendas that they can just go do install, click, good,
done.
I have my
no risk. HQ is the risk. You'll notice also that Ben changed out his 1s for 5s, which to me says he's not planning on spending that money anytime soon.
Well, he did it every time on Armitage too, I believe. So even with all like the particular small transactions that happened with Armitage, he was going for the 5s.
And so Ben, I thought that's right. Ben essentially gained credits his entire turn, and they were both kind of sitting there in the weird Netrunner moment where you don't realize whose turn it is.
Yeah. Hey, I'm done here.
So Jeremy's back to you, and I'm beginning to think now that during that HQ run, Ben wasn't utilizing that bad publicity. I didn't catch it when I was looking, but it looked like he paid everything out of pocket, which, if you're not using that bad publicity, that really is making those hostile takeovers exceptionally a good trade-off.
Yeah, that's right.
You get 1 free credit every time you make a run.
It's like an inverse pad campaign.
Even better. Every time you can do it 4 turns, you get
That's
4
true.
credits.
That is true, because it is
4 actions.
What? So, think about that.
Think about that.
Interesting to see, and again, this is atypical for me because I'm playing Shaper most times, but there is no link strength.
Oh, no.
No link strength for criminals.
That's the Shaper special.
So those tags,
Beanstalk, get in 4.
were they to come, would be especially troublesome. Or not the tags, the traces.
He'll get traced. And that's pretty much just the story of everyone but Shaper. But, you know, the beauty of traces is you just break them.
That's true.
And you'll get traced.
Very good.
He's got all of his icebreakers out. He's got the full suite. He's got decent cash. He can probably break through anything. Ninja's just a little bit more expensive than you want it to be on basically everything.
That's right. That is right.
I mean, just to break that data raven, it's going to cost 4 to break the trace. You have to take a tag and pay 4 just to get through there. And that's not what you want.
And more credits.
More credits for Jeremy, of course.
Print that money. Get some money, draw a card.
Gain all the money and then draw a card. So that's all of Ben's actions. He's moneyed out. It's kind of I know I'm going to have to get through this remote server at some point.
Plan for the
calculation. And I wonder if that code cracker is ever going to get used. You notice it was played out. It was put in the deck. And I'm interested to see if it is going to get used.
Ooh, what are we pointing at?
We're going to look at the discard pile here.
What's going on in that heap?
I think Ben only has 3 cards in his deck right now.
Oh, wow. So what be there?
Which is going to make things like Scorched Earth really significant because you can't just replenish your hand. So you can do like the long-term over a couple turns Scorched Earth. Scorched Earth once, and then a couple turns later if you see it again, it's the game.
Which is terrifying.
It is. Just got to not be tagged. Which is hard with the Weyland agendas. They're certainly capable.
So, as a Corp now... Whoa! And not as a runner throwing your cards. Don't do that. What would you say about the strategy of having, as what's being done by Jeremy here, that one remote with just all the ice built up on it? Is that something that you can get away with? Is that all you ever really need?
You can certainly get away with it. He's getting away with it quite well here. Weyland has some nice fatty ice that's going to keep anything off that server. And it creates a lot of issues. I mean, playing against Criminal, you don't want unprotected remotes because of bank job. You got to protect archives, you got to protect R&D, and you've got to protect HQ. So it doesn't leave a lot of ice left for superfluous, remote servers.
Yeah.
So if he has, I don't think doesn't look like he has Pad Campaign in the deck. But if he did, I don't even know if he'd play it.
Yeah, it's a risk.
Just given, as we saw, I think we saw last game between these two. Bank jobs on those pad campaigns, but that certainly didn't stop Jeremy at the time, or Ben at the time. So,
who's to say? But yeah, it's definitely something worth assessing. And would you say that there are certain runners where it's more risky than others? Because like Criminals do top the list for me.
For sure, yeah. Criminals on remote servers is not what you want.
Yeah.
But man, how about 3 pad campaigns right now? Wouldn't that make your life easier?
I always think it does. It's like, where are my pads? All right, so something's happening. Whoa, 5th piece of ice. This is getting out of hand.
5th piece and no doubt going to gain 2.
Yeah.
I can't think that that's not going to happen.
That's awesome.
Yeah, this is the classic Jeremy action flip whenever he's going to gain 2 credits. Mark my words on this.
Well, he'll want it too.
He's got to look. Can I still res the archer? Yes, I can. That's my assumption, of course.
Well, yeah, it's a safe bet. We've seen him do it a lot.
Or it could be out front now.
But you have to wonder, is Jeremy setting the stage for that trap behind 5 pieces of ice the way Ben did to him?
Maybe a little payback?
Yeah.
You got to think he was looking at his discard pile to see how many inside jobs had been used.
Yep.
Maybe he was like, okay, there's 1 inside job left. I don't want him inside jobbing the data raven. He's going to install over that piece.
That was interesting. Why did he not trash first and then install?
Technically, that's how it worked.
Okay.
It was one of those kind of installed and then, okay, wait, maybe I just want to install over this piece instead.
Okay. Fair enough. So now, not many more cards to draw.
He's got 2 actions left, and I really do think he just didn't want his Data Raven inside jobbed.
Yeah.
Because you've got to think he's looking for those tags.
Because to me, what just happened is, like, he's ready, potentially beginning next turn, for, like, the final stage of this game. If you're willing to trash that piece of ice like that, just kind of discard it. It's like, you no longer matter. I'm now ready to start putting agendas down here and see what comes of it.
Yep.
Oh, so there it is.
No, it didn't gain the credits. Gained a credit and installed a card.
Excellent.
And when you're staring at criminals with 17...
That is a lot of money.
You know they can get through there, so I can't believe that he put an actual
Whoa,
agenda
and
here.
then a sure gamble. What?
Cost 5, gain 9,
What?
net 4.
See, all he needs is a single priority, which I think is still somewhere.
I think right now you run HQ, then you use the code cracker to see what's down there, and if you have to, you run it your last action. But he's going to gain 2, and then he's going to run HQ. So he's just saying, I don't think that's an agenda. I don't think it's an agenda down there.
Interesting. Interesting, because he's an old hat at this trick, putting a trap down behind a bunch of ice. It's like, I know how that's done. I did that last game.
So he's going to let him gain 2 off of Shadow.
Interesting.
He's going to break all of the rest of the ice.
So boom. And now...
Interesting, he only broke the trace there. That was weird. Or did he?
I assume he did.
You have to assume.
Boom.
Boom.
Security force.
Got it. Man, 2 more points. So he goes up to 6.
So,
good. That's instinct right there.
Score anything now, and you're done.
That's right.
It's the brink. It's the brink of the end.
That's when you're glad that R&D has that Hadrian's on it.
That's right.
Because you could just be pillaging R&D every turn.
Oh, man. But now as the Corp, it's like, man.
Now, if that was an agenda that was worth anything...
It's true.
Which I don't imagine it would be. The best it could be is a private security force for the score, but he only has 3 clicks, and it would take 4 to advance it.
That's right.
So it's still very, very shaky territory here. At best, he gets another 1-point agenda and takes some more bad publicity.
But what a gamble. What a gamble. So, he's fretting it.
And I'm really still curious what happened with that Shadow.
Oh,
okay, and I remember this is... Jeremy essentially has accidentally installed the wrong card down here. As I remember, he accidentally installed a piece of ice where that agenda, we thought the agenda was. And basically, you know how you're looking through your cards and you know what you're going to put down, and then you kind of maybe look at a few more things and then put it down.
Yeah, it happens.
And it actually was illegal. So what the judge has decided and Ben has agreed to is that he will simply pick up that card. That 1 wasted action.
Yeah.
No harm, no foul. Ben could make the argument, of course, that it completely affected what he did on his turn and be a total... make that an issue, but he chose not to in the spirit of the game, so that's great.
Because, yeah, that is a big deal, so congrats to Ben for taking the high road there, because it's one of those things. It's like that could have been game right there. And how you weigh the action you take as the runner is a immensely big deal. But who knows? Maybe he meant to put down that private security force and then, scored it out of his hand. And it's like, wait, why was that there?
Yes, I think that's exactly what happened. Yeah.
Which, man, that's frustrating. Because that would suck it for Jeremy for sure.
But even then, it's like, okay, so assume you actually did put private security force down. Now what are you going to do? Like develop it 3 times and then get it stolen?
Yeah.
23 credits on Ben's side. There's nothing you can hide at this point.
Yeah, so who knows how that would have actually affected the scope. But you have to make do with what happens.
That's right, and I still don't think that bad publicity was used.
Yeah, I was thinking that as well. I didn't see it come into play, but there's a lot going on, so maybe we missed it.
I always put the bad publicity token on my runner as well, just to remind me when I'm looking at my credits. It's like, hey, remember,
you get free money. It's not something you should forget about. Free money is always nice.
It's always the best kind of money. Price is right.
Oh man, yeah. Price is right. The price is free. Here's your stuff. So, Now you have to wonder how you can salvage this.
1 point left for Ben.
Ugh.
Only needs 1.
But Jeremy needs 2.
Jeremy's flipping in the way that he is considering and looking around. How about the criminals getting the private security force? That was a big deal.
Yeah, that's a huge deal.
Man, what a rewarding feeling it is, too, when you hit HQ and you grab it.
Yeah.
Whew.
The criminals having so much money right now is actually, I think, the biggest, remaining element in this game. Because it's just like, well, you put anything down anywhere, I'm just going to go get it.
Not only can he go get it, but he can run HQ, look at what it is, and then decide if he actually wants to go get it.
Yep.
So that, hopefully, the threat of that, even if it never gets used, is enough to affect Jeremy's security in his actions here. Who knows what's actually going through his head?
That's right.
I certainly don't. Nor do I claim to.
You don't claim much. You would have been a really poor conquistador. Hey, here we are in Mexico, and you can just have it.
A lot of consideration. This is classic Jeremy consideration pose. We saw this as the runner as well before making some big moves. So I predict one of two things is going to happen. He's going to gain all credits. All right, I got it out before he did it. And that's what he did, saying Ori was going to install something. So gaining the credits. And so we have some nice hand gesturing there. He's going to run again and allow Ben to gain the creds. Or allow Jeremy to gain the creds. Break through everything, gain 4 back. Or 3 back. Nothing in there. At least nothing that he saw.
Yeah, nothing worth a trash or a score.
He's going to gain. And pass over.
All right, so hopefully those credits gained by Jeremy will come to good use.
So 1 HQ run and then credits. He's wanting to stay above the critical mass of the server, this remote server. And the Corp's in a tight spot here. Ben has gotten up to go see the world. And Jeremy's considering his options at this point.
There's a lot to consider here because it's one wrong move and the game's over. So he's behind the power curve on the economy, so he can't really afford to, say, install a 5th piece of ice because what is that going to do more than really just set him back another 4 credits? Because when the criminal's at 25, it doesn't matter. You're just essentially wasting that click for installation, wasting the credits to install. So you have to now weigh what you can do to quickly score anything before they can take it from you. And it's nerve-wracking.
And I'm as I look more and more at this HQ, I'm so surprised that he's letting Jeremy gain 2 credits.
Yeah, it is surprising. I was wondering that myself.
I'm actually looking
What's your
at
theory?
I mean, I don't know if it's being played wrong, that Femme Fatale, he's saying I can break one of them but not the other. Or what's happening.
That's interesting, yeah.
Because in order to break through that thing, it's going to require him to pay 3 to get Ninja up to string.
True.
And then 1 and 1. So there's no reason he wouldn't pay the extra 1. I don't know exactly what's going on there, but this is kind of this is very early in the days of Netrunner, so there were still some things that were a bit confusing. But maybe I feel like there's a piece of this that's being missed ultimately.
All right, so Ben is back. And Jeremy is taking his first actions.
He's going to gain credits. And he installed 1 above HQ and then gained the credits back.
Very nice.
Trying to take away that run.
But now, Ben will come in, and he is going to probably not draw cards. I would think you just keep getting the money. Because what are you missing? What are you missing that you need to keep drawing cards? So it's either runs or money.
He's making a run there.
There it is.
Data Raven. Take a tag in the run.
Which is gotta be a little nerve-wracking because it's like, oh man, I have to take the tag. What if he has a closed account? What if I don't draw what I need right here and now? then all my money is gone.
He'll shake it. Yeah, he'll definitely shake it as his last action or his second or third action. Just cost him 2. No worries, but he does have to pay a lot to break through that Data Raven. 3 to pump Ninja, and then 1 to break it. So it's gonna be 4 total, and all of his precious monies.
Well, at least they're being used, because I mean, money isn't doing you anything unless you actually start spending it.
It is holding that remote server off.
It is. That's for sure.
Ben's got him in a situation where he knows that Jeremy can't put an agenda down into that remote, so it means that he's going to have to sit in his hand on all those agendas, which is why HQ is so tasty right now.
Let him throw his money at my HQ, and then maybe, if he gets poor enough, I can throw an agenda at that remote. And that's all you can do, right?
That's all you can do. And Ben is I guess, contemplating how he wants to proceed here.
Okay, now also at this point in the game, do you res archers?
Yeah. It costs him 6 just to get up to strength. Yeah, it's crazy. You absolutely do.
Okay.
Against Ninja for sure.
Yeah. Were it something less efficient or more efficient, that is, would you...
Something more efficient, maybe not. But...
Hard to say.
Yeah, Ninja's so inefficient against an archer that it's a must.
Alright, so...
He's not going to break the trace, which is just crazy, by the way. Okay, he is going to break it. Ooh, I was about to say. Ben, that is Scorched Earth right happening. So he's going to let him gain the 2 again. And then... And then basically break the barrier and then lose an action from Enigma rather than paying 1 to break it.
And note the
Weird.
The amount of credits lost. He lost 3 total from that exchange. Pretty cheap.
Yeah, ultimately he's gonna have to pay 2 to shake the tag though.
Yep.
Unless he doesn't, which he didn't. This could be a huge mistake on Ben's part, not shaking that tag.
Yeah.
All it takes is 1 Scorched Earth right now.
I am really surprised, actually. I don't know what's up. But we'll see.
Could have just forgotten about it. Could be in front of his deck, doesn't see it.
Yep.
How many cards? Looks like he's got 3.
3 or 4.
I think that's the game if you Scorched Earth.
Cards in hand? That's a terrible question you hate being asked.
Cards in hand. It's like, how much life do you have?
It's like, what? Why do you care?
And he's going to trash the crash space, which prevents a lot of nasty things. And he's going to play Scorched Earth.
2 Scorched Earths.
And he's going to play it twice. Nice. And that's going to be the game. That's horrible. So both of these games come to a very bizarre conclusion. One, the glory run on Project Junebug. The other, essentially Ben, what looks like forgetting a tag. He's shaking it as if he did forget it.
Yep.
And then biting it to 2 Scorched Earth. So, crazy. We're going to get a 3rd game out of these 2. So we'll see Jeremy and Ben in Game 3 coming up later. And thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to support what we're doing here, of course you can do that by buying Netrunner data packs, subscriptions, or anything else Netrunner related from our site.
Who knows? Maybe you need that 3rd core box.
Yeah.
You know, because sometimes you want those extra cards that you only get 1 of for some reason.
So there we have it, guys. Wild game. Well played on both ends. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.
Thanks for stopping in.